which focuses on concepts in biology, how those concepts shape scientific research, and how they are shaped by scientific research in turn. And right now I'm particularly fascinated by something curious about certain core concepts in biological research. So concepts like gene, species, function, individual, homology. These are concepts that play a role in a wide variety of biological research questions and fields, and they center in a number of different claims that biologists make, seemingly without any kind of trouble. But when you try and get an explicit definition of any of these concepts that covers all the different uses, it turns out to be really, really difficult to do that. So you can ask a bunch of different biologists what they mean by gene, or look at a bunch of research papers on any of these concepts, and you'll come up with a number of explicit definitions that are all related, but are also different in important ways. So this seems kind of curious. There are a number of different ways to respond to it that both biologists and philosophers have tried. One approach is to try and look for some kind of abstract, overarching theoretical definition that captures all of the significant things about the use of the concept. Another approach is to try and defend this complexity, polysemy, existence of multiple meanings as fruitful for scientific research, or at least not harmful. In my research, I try and take a little bit of a different approach. I want to understand why this situation arises in the first place, and especially why it seems to arise repeatedly across these core biological concepts. So I think once we understand that process a bit better, we'll be in a better position to answer some of these questions about whether and when it's possible to unify these concepts, and whether and when the complexity that we see causes a problem for science, is fruitful for science, or is maybe just neutral. So the working hypothesis I have is that we're best going to be able to understand this complexity, this variation in meaning, from a historical perspective, if we recognize that the variation that we see now is the end result of a complex process of change and diversification over time in the concept. So I'm working to make that hunch a bit more precise by developing a general model or framework for thinking about scientific change for these biological concepts, though I suspect some of the same features will apply to other cases as well. And there are a number of different components to the model or the framework. Right now I'm just going to emphasize two. One that tends to produce cohesion among the different variants of the concept, and one that tends to produce diversification. So cohesion. I think that a really important feature in the history of the development of these concepts is the existence of a certain exemplary set of research activities, maybe a research program in which the concept figures prominently. And I think it's really important to emphasize that these exemplary research activities don't just come down to providing explicit definitions of the concept. So often explicit definitions are involved, and later scientists may use those explicit definitions as kind of a touch point looking back historically, but the definitions, when they're actually deployed, are embedded in a much broader array of research practices and activities. So just to give a few examples, the research activities involving these key concepts will include a number of different key examples or phenomenon that demonstrate what it is to be a thing that falls under this concept. They also include various operational criteria or rules of thumb for deciding when the concept applies, perhaps different methods for studying the key phenomena, either in a lab or in the field, experimental, observational, other kinds of things, special terminology that kind of travels with the concept, nomenclature, technical names, things like that. So this very richness, this collection of things that hangs together with these exemplary uses of the concept is, I think, a really important part of what makes the concept valuable for the scientific community and encourages later people to work and develop the achievements that are the gains that are made using the concept. At the same time, that very richness and diversity, I think, seeds the later fragmentation or splitting of the concept into these different variants that are related but distinct. So just to give a few examples of how this might happen, scientists might focus over time on their efforts on different distinct aspects of some of the key phenomena that fall under the concept. These might be processes that occur at different scales of space and time. The use of the concept might change through key theoretical developments in the field as a whole and other parts of biology, or new technologies that allow access to different phenomena or different aspects of the same phenomena that weren't accessible before. So all of these things I suspect will, and I have some historical cases that suggest that these things will all tend to create diversification in the meaning and use of the concept, at the same time as they also provide a certain kind of link back to the original exemplary research program, or even perhaps to a series of research programs that count as exemplary over time and that all use the concept. So I think with this framework we can start to see how diversification and variation in key biological concepts is actually a natural process, something that's to be expected over time. And then we can start to ask interesting questions about the patterns, the pros and cons of that process. So here at the center, I've been working to make various aspects of this model more precise, and I've also been developing some case studies of key issues and episodes in particular kinds of conceptual change. So I've been working on a paper with Ingo Briggen, another fellow, on some episodes in the concept of homology. That should be coming out hopefully in early January 2023 if you're interested in learning more. And this has been a really great place to work, and I'm looking forward to developing the ideas that have come up here at the center.